Friday, 11:57, 42 seconds, year 2024, 12th month. Day 27. Day 27. That's also that number 27 is the numbers that for the astrology or for the time, the legal time, that the mother birth, the mother birth. October 27th, the Scorpio. And the 27th is closest to the next month around the wheel, which would be it would be closer to the Sagittarius horse. And then November. Yeah. No, November. And then November 21st is the Sagittarius. November 21st. So there could be a sign between Sagittarius and Scorpio. It seems like before Scorpio is Virgo. Seems like before Scorpio is Virgo. And then however, if December is after December is after Scorpio or Sagittarius after Scorpio. Brother would have to go look at it. Anyway, so moving on. Now, this video concerns the situation if father transitions on. This concerns the situation if father transitions on. And if father transitions on, then there is the capacity to have an inheritance transferred. So, and then the two immediate clan survivors, and then there's 3 grandchildren involved. the Christian tradition, in biblical sense, the current Christian tradition, the current interpretation to that old ancient astrology Jesus book, is in the Proverbs. It says, a wise parent leaves a inheritance for the children's children. And then that could be shares the inheritance with the children's children. Shares the inheritance with the children's children. And then mother's mother, the mother who claims to have given birth to this sisterly brother with the camera here, Nana, that would be Florence May Henry, M-A-Y-E, Florence. And Freeman Edward Henry. The inheritance included only the immediate clan, which was Mother Sharon and Mother Sharon and then the other immediate clan member, which was Mother's sister, Stephanie, who married Blumendahl. However, Stephanie transitioned on before Florence May Henry, the mother who claims to have had the seed shot into her and gave birth to the eldest sister, which would be Stephanie. So far, the tradition on both sides of the clans have been that that includes dad's side, the father's side, that the inheritance was passed directly to the children, and there was nothing included with the grandchildren. That's the way it came down. That's the way it came down for the grandchildren with the father's side. That'd be Tim Richard Eskew. The father who claims to have shot the seed into the mother that claims to have given birth to this sisterly brother recording. So, and then knowing whether the grandchildren on the other sisters and brothers' sides were included in an inheritance formally, legally, through the legal attorneys and the legal enforcements, both legal and legalism. Legalism being the mud-stuck abusive use to the legal. The legal being predominantly rooted with recording everything in a book, recording everything with a book, writing stuff down, some sort of written record. Could be something different than a video record or some alien extraterrestrial higher technology record. Simulation hologram records, pop-up screens records, ESP records. So the point to this video concerns the situation with Father Tim, Richard Eskew, and the two sons existing currently. The eldest is this sisterly brother, and the youngest is the brother J, Jason Adam Eskew. Now, legally or lawfully, this brother, sisterly brother, has a claim on the name, on the legal name, Russell Edward Eskew. Has a claim, a lawful claim, and a peace warrant to back the claim. Peace warrant to back the claim. Now, the situation is such that father is legally aging, and it could be that one day he could legally transition. Could be also he could keep living and living and living. All kinds of evidence to consider. However, the old societal bad habit, legal habit, and attached to legalism, has been usually most living organisms end up transitioning legally. So then this video concerns the inheritance and the situation with Brother J predominantly, which could also include the 3 grandchildren. Tim Roberts, Crystal, Tim Roberts, the oldest son, Crystal, who married, and then Robbie, the youngest son, and then that would Dane, Robbie Dane, formerly Crystal Dane. And she married, so the last name probably, and if she got divorced, then she would probably go back to Dane. Hard to say because she was born from another father, Calvin being an ex-military Marine who probably served the 4 years and got out. And so, concerning the property and the inheritance, which is the property, transferring property to those written with the legal inheritance. Then there's also transferring property, getting into the lawful realms. So, Now, this could turn into a situation concerning predominantly Brother Jay being caught in the alcohol addiction realm, and recently going to the hospital and almost dying. Could have died because of the extent of the surgeries to repair a hole in the stomach which leaked into the body, and the first surgery was incorrectly performed, and then the second surgery seems to have had success. However, Brother Jay's strength is still in the midst to strengthening back up. And Brother Jay shared with Brother Russell that his job experienced the company which Jay presently works for just expressed to all the employees that their mill chipper, which is something that chips wood here in Oregon, there are many mills, wood mill based companies, or wood companies, period. And Jay works for a company that builds tiny houses, kits, and then ships the kits, and then people can assemble the kits. But the company just announced shortly after Jay seems to have been recovering and went back to work, had to go light duty, severe light duty, because he was having more complications. Fluid was building up around the lung sacs, which diminished oxygen in workday loads. So, however, Jay seems to recovered from that one so far, but still the surgery is fresh because it just happened within the summer here. He went into emergency on April Fool's Day, April 1st. So Jason revealed to the brother at this Christmas gathering. And then shortly after had surgery. So probably April 2024. And that was just after the big winter storm where many trees came down from heavy ice. And then there was a fire threat, seeing how Dad and Jay live out in the woods where fires tend to be easily come. Easier so than in the cities where all the trees are at. With all the different reasons that fires could come. That includes natural or artificial natural. Weather controllers, and on the legal side and lawful side. All kinds of different philosophies that tie into that. So here Jay is, and Jay expressed to the Sisley brother, to Russell, at the Christmas gathering here, that he expressed his expressions with tears, which could be an act, and it could be real feelings mixed with acting for manipulation purposes. This is all could be. Jason has a lot of Hollywood type picture frames, posters with picture frames around him, hung up in the room where he's living with Dad, the bedroom. the room that mother slept in, stayed in, dwelt with. So there's a lot of influence there, capacity that gives clues to learning many things from Hollywood movies. Being from Los Angeles also, native-born Los Angeles with the blood that's down there near Hollywood. All the children, immediate children, were legally born in Los Angeles, California area. So that includes, according to the records that someone says. It's all just a book record, so it's not set in stone just because someone writes something in a book. However, there is some trust that, could be. So the situation is with the inheritance in Jay. So at the meeting, Jay expressed, and there's two prior videos that are explaining some revelation with the meeting. This video is more on the point to a fresher revelation, and that is there could be there is the anticipation that things could get troublesome with Jay through the inheritance. Reason being is because he expressed at the meeting, and with tears and crying and a lot of demanding, that I explain something to him. Desperation could be the scene. Tearful, demanding, desperation, orders, demanding a response. So, the situation, his cry was, he doesn't have a house, he doesn't have nothing, he's pretty much lost everything. And he was in that mode because he foresees that his job might not be there because the company could fold and close, and that would leave him with his debts. He has debts. The only debts he has is the debts to father, Tim Richard Eskew, and the debts are that he owes Dad money for the cars that he owns, which is he half owns one of the Hellcats, a Dodge Hellcat, 750 horsepower. 700 horsepower, $80,000 brand new spanking Hellcat that Dad purchased with the self money that he accumulated through the legal works through the years working and whatnot. And Jason went in half, or Jason is buying out half. And that's $750 a month, Jay said, that he's have to pay to Dad. And Jason just began paying his fair share of the $40,000 last year. So he's got some time to go. So you figure 12 times 750, 10 times 750 is 7,000. So just call it 8,000, 9,000. He's still got 30,000 left, while Dad is still living. And there could be surprise instructions with the inheritance if Dad transitions. And Dad said he wants to be buried Dad told this Sicily brother, Russell, supposedly the legal son, told this brother he's going to be buried at it's going to be a military funeral. He's got a military site picked out. So, and Dad is private military. So there are eyes watching everything going on. And at the same time, there could also be at higher levels lessons for each surviving, quote unquote, legal surviving and lawful it brings the law into, because this brother brings the law in with all the contracts that this brother has written up. So anyway, getting back to the point, to the video point. Jason was in tears, desperation, demanding an answer. You know, basically, how the hell, Russell, can you maintain a house with no job? And so, you know, this involves the private military lawful side status. And so, anyway, things could get, as far as the inheritance go, Jay doesn't have a house. Now, if the inheritance and if dad transitions and there's an inheritance, and the orders in the inheritance could involve some legal attorneys. And there could be involved some county recording for transfer, name transfer, reconveyances for the house there into a name, or a named team. So the house could go to the Sicily brother, Russell, could go to Jay, it could go to Tim, the eldest grandson. It could go to Crystal, the daughter, the granddaughter, or it could go to Robbie, or it could go equal footing. So far, Dad presents the aura that, you know, everything's supposed to be a surprise, and there's no real revealing anything how the inheritance, if the inheritance should be shared. For all circumstances, the inheritance could go to some unknown situation. So, you know, attorneys could be involved in watching, high military people watching, looking to swoop down onto a property money grab, all kinds of things. So the main point of the video is that things could have the propensity for all scenarios to pop up between the two immediate clan members here, or, you know, the legal clan, and it brings in the law also, and then there's being able to be both sides from the lawful perspective. So now, getting on to the things that could happen, that could evolve. It could be that Jason needs a place to stay. He's got a fair record, so he could easily get the lowest job at a fast food place to work. And the house, you know, is paid for, so there would be no mortgage or rent. So the house, say for instance, the house could be in Jay's name, and Jay leaves it to someone else. The house could be in Jay's name, and Jay passes, Jay transitions, and there's no legal transfer orders or lawful transfer orders for the transfer. And so that could be a situation. There could be since how Jay is a very dominant alcoholic type with that addiction, very dominant and muscly and bully, you know, it could be a situation where, Jay doesn't like something, and sabotage could come into play. Jay could start inviting all kinds of friends and old acquaintances over to the house, and they could just trash the place. All kinds of circumstances. There's vehicles involved, cars, trucks, Dad has accumulated. So anyway, so these thoughts are revealing. All these scenarios are revealing this Christmas season. Thus the reason for the video. And it could be a situation to where Jason has a hard time and he needs help, and there would be no one there immediately here except for the brother. He could extend partnerships with the other surviving clan members, the grandchildren, and they could move in, and all kinds of things could happen. And it could also come down to, Jay, seeing how Jay has no problem face to face revealing his feelings for this Sicily brother. He's not too fond. He doesn't really like who I am, the things I'm involved with, and things that have happened in the past and all that. So, so there's that aspect too. So, and then there's this other looming aspect on a universal level, say from like Jason and the Argonauts, the gods that could be watching, and they could, and the thoughts they're saying are that are revealing, the evidence being revealed, not necessarily that anyone's been saying it. Although it's being said, the universe could be saying it, and that is, Russell, when Jay and Russell were younger, there were two incidences with alcohol that Russell just didn't drink any alcohol. He just tipped the bottle to make it look like he drank alcohol, and then handed the bottle to younger Jay, and he actually drank it. He actually drank the alcohol, and he ended up getting, intoxicated, or more than likely. And there were two incidences like that. One was at the house in California, San Ramon, California, and one was at the grandparents' house. So, but you know, things like that happen when young, and there's happens to be alcohol to be able to obtain. You know, we're talking children, teenagers. We were teenagers at the time. 13 and 10. He's 10. He's 3 years younger. 13 and 10. Let's just call it around there. 7th grade. Could be. Brother would have to narrow it down, but you know, being young and you know, things happen. So there's this looming evidence that keeps popping up saying, Russell, you're responsible for Jason because you introduced him to the alcohol. So there's that evidence to consider. You know, and this Sicily brother has always been the most independent for all the immediate children, Russell, Michelle, and Jason. Always the most independent. You know, he left the nest early, or at 18, decided, you know, figured it was, you know, had to leave at 18, so joined the military. And I've always, and for the first part of, you know, 16 years lived 2 states away, and, you know, rarely visited, so I've been, or this Sicily brother is more the independent and, you know, less involved with the clan matters, whatnot. Whereas, and Michelle married and moved on and whatnot. However, she's having hard times as far as raising children. So the grandchildren ended up being with mother for a bit, and things like that. So the other 2 children, Michelle and Jay, have always been closer. One could almost say dependent on. Although Michelle was dependent earlier on with the children, and then later, after the children were, you know, mother helped to raise the children. And after the children were raised, then Michelle is more independent. And she remarried and stayed married till her transition to the Dane family. So the brother would just sit here for the next 20 minutes and wait for anything, new revelation that wants to be hashed out or spoken upon. You know, there's this the gods, the mythological gods, and there could be higher powers and stuff like that involved, or claiming to want to be higher powers and present mythological stories and this, that for jurisdictions. You know, there's all these philosophies that say that living organisms are here to learn lessons, and if the lessons aren't learned, then they get reincarnated after death. You know, it could be there's lessons, and if the lessons are successful, there could be rewards with living forever. All kinds of different things that come into play, different angles. And the brother, you know, this Sicily brother told Jay, when he was demanding some answers and explanations, how the hell does this brother live with no job? Because he has nothing. He has no house, and he's losing his might lose his current job. So things, and he just had a near-death experience with surgery and with the alcoholism, a hole in the stomach leaking into the body cavity. It needed 2 surgeries because the first doctor didn't get all the fluids out of the body cavity, so it got infected inside, so they had to rip them back open, put them back together. Jason requested a different doctor that he said was a Chinese doctor, and could have, that could just be a general word for Eastern doctor. Could have been Japanese, all kinds of different Eastern type. And then the Chinese guy went in and cleaned them up in order to get them to stick back together, because they had to reopen fresh staples and wounds, fresh cuts. They had to put them on a black bag with a suction to vacuum and go on hospice with attendants to keep the cavity together so it would heal. So all that playing into the hardships with Jay and the tears and everything. And, Russell, you seem to, now with all his disappointment with Russell, Russell seems to have been the wizard through life. And he used that word. He said, you seem to be a whiz with the system. That you seem to be a wizard. And at that point, the brother finally was able to say something, because Jay kept interrupting and wanted to control the conversation, even the answer or whatever it was, just control the questioning. It was just a form of, you could, all kinds of things, robot control, electronic demon possession, CIA involved, mind control, all that, speaking through Jay, so looking to get jurisdiction and all that stuff, so. But the brother told Jay, and just what came out, or the answers that came out was, to share, that the brother's on the last $1,500. He started trading with $400 with the currency financial markets, or started trading with $4,000. And the brother's got enough money probably to last for the next 6 months. But, that all depends too, because it all depends on the value of the asset going up, which can be exchanged for more money. So, and when the Sicily brothers told him that answer, which really wasn't the answer for the initial questioning. The initial questioning was, how do you, I don't see how you're able to be such a wizard with the system. And he wanted to answer, how? So the brothers shared. So in a way, the brother didn't answer his question, so there was a little bit of, jurisdiction lost there on behalf of the CIA. You didn't answer a question. Well, there's already affidavits. It doesn't matter anything the sister or brother says, there's going to be no jurisdiction. That's the way the affidavits and agreements have been written. But if they can psychologically get Russell to believe somehow their side to the story, well, all this is, consideration. So, and so when Jason realized that it could be that Russell could lose everything too, except that Russell has a house that's paid, that's all free and cleared, so there could be a short sale if it came down to it, and all that. So. And Russell would still have some money, and then Russell would be forced to probably go live with Jay if Jay got the house, and now Jay would be in the power command because he's the owner of the house now. So so all of a sudden Jay's disposition changed immediately. He went from sad, crying to happy and elated. because all the, the CIA control and all that stuff, plus, the soul that's there starts the gears start turning. There's hope for me to be still in the power play, or to have something here. And when it comes with Jason, it's very close to regular people brought into society, the way it's been run. It's always, there's got to be the win. Someone's got to be in control. There's that old habit to be in control and to win and to have something. And someone to serve them, someone be on the beck and call for them, the bow down and all that stuff, So there's that aspect too. So all these thoughts all this evidence is being presented with thoughts and body actions, and it can be looked upon as a big distraction, for trading the markets, not being able to focus properly, worrying about all this situation, how it's going to play out and all that. So, it could also come down to where Jay ends up losing. If Jay was to get the house, he ends up losing the house, doesn't pay the taxes, all this stuff. He doesn't have a place to stay. Then he'll probably drive his car or show up on a bus or something, because he only lives. Cottage Grove is only 30 miles south. He would show up to Russell's house and beg and or whatever, and expect me to take him in. So there would be that aspect. And if I didn't, he'd be on the street. He would have nothing. But he could probably, more than likely, he's able to have a job. So I would, brother could get a rent. Brother could rent. It comes down to it. Lived like all the rest of people have always been living for a while, for a long time. To rent. So there's a new thought. But if you wanted to, and it came down to it where he couldn't work, didn't want to work or whatever, he could muscle his way onto the property. Now this brings a whole new other point to the video, which is another big point, and that is the system, the legal system is set up in such a way where sheriffs would be involved, where the authorities would be involved. And that includes, well, Russell, you see, if it comes down to it, you might have to call the cops or the sheriff or some authority to intervene in the situation if Jay decides he's going to force himself upon Russell or the property. So there's that aspect for considerations, how that could play out and give justification to the system, the legal system, and this, and that. Different justifications. The legal system isn't bad. It's just when the legal system goes stuck in the mud abusive, which is legal system, that it can be bad. And it's still not a bad thing, it's just unconsciousness. It's just a growing, something, the universal energy is growing. And as soon as that was said, the picture went back on. Picture's having a hard time staying up, so there's that aspect. And that was a main point that the brother wanted to get on the video. The 2 points were, things could evolve with Jason as far as the relationship and things, that a force come upon, having to care for Jay could be a force, a universal force to come upon. that the brother is now conscious with, and wasn't conscious with before, and then involving a legal authority. It came down to it where it was needed to reduce any unwanted abuse concerning Jay toward Russell. Not necessarily Jay, but the Jay figure. It could be a thing where Russell would be caring for Jay, and things would be happily ever after. Jay, all kinds of things. It could be an opportunity to share with Jay. It could be an opportunity to learn something more with the societal system the way it is, and the legal side, and then there's the lawful sides to consider, how to live together and learn to get along and care for each other and help each other during the hard times and all that stuff too. All that stuff comes into play too. And the brother has been back at into the mentor trade room, or the teammate who shares information through compensation, which would be the legal money. So he's getting something. There is something being shared back with him. So it isn't like Russell isn't sharing anything. So it's an equal situation. So and the trade room individual, man, boy, the trade room boy, girl energy is could be thinking to the self that might want to stop having the trade room and just trade with the self, or especially since Russell hasn't been communicating in the chat room. He just shows up and just says hi, and then wonderful at the end of the trade room with code words WRL for wonderful. The brother was typing wonderful out, and that was the choice response with the trade room, and the trade roomer, the one who's running the trade room. Wonderful. Everything's wonderful. The preferred answer for any questions. Everything's wonderful. 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 So who knows? So the brother's been showing up in the trade rooms. He says hi, but then, immediately, seeing how it's Christmas season, the markets are slow right now, so, the brother just goes right back to sleep. And there's no wonderful on the other end. And there was a bit of a sign. There was a bit of a sign that showed up on the screen. It was a different button to push, an option to push, to end things, to end the session, and this gets all into the psychological warfare and all the clues, at the Christmas dinner with Dad. The end game came up with the end of the game with the Kansas City Chiefs and the Pittsburgh Steelers. The end game. and the Kansas City Chiefs were considered to have won the game, and the Pittsburgh Steelers lost. And the Pittsburgh Steelers, the quarterback name was Russell, and the Pittsburgh Steelers running back was Henry. You know. Yet on the other end of the spectrum, you know, on the other end of the spectrum, you know, all of a sudden out of nowhere came the Top Gun. The Top Gun, Tom Cruise Top Gun movie came on, and when it was the scene, you know, where Tom Cruise goes before the commander, and the commander reinstates Tom Cruise back to Top Gun, but as a teacher, not as a flyer, as a teacher. So here is, you know, the implications and evidence with, you know, revelations that enter in to present themselves that Russell is going to teach Jason things, and, you know, seems how there was never real any brother things going on, you know, all these things, subconsciously, whether, you know, it could be control, CIA experiments looking to, you know, plant stuff in the brain, and all the stuff that goes on with it, you know. So there was an end session red button at the trade room as to show some type of worry or control, you know, all kinds of shit, knowing that there's high level surveillance going on with this Sicily brother because of the international universal contracts that this brother wrote up on the lawful side. Yeah. Concerning the whole universe. This concerns the whole universe. So anyway, so we just call it that. Brother's gonna stand up, clean the weenie and the ass, and the rest of the skin around the loin areas, you know, just call it that video. Could be a part 2 coming up later.